are these people?
We're going to talk a little bit about No Kings. I'm going to give it 5 minutes. Before we do that, please support independent media. Ways to do that: Cash App, $ Indie News Network, co-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, at indienewsnow.com, at innnewsletter.com over on Substack, and at indiemediatoday.com. Again, we're live over there now, and it seems that we're holding fine. You know why? We stopped talking about Israel. Amazing how that happened. Mm-hmm. Once again, the minute we stopped talking about Israel, and all of a sudden, boom, connection's just fine. You must be this fascist to vote. Very funny, Mouse. And agreed, great stuff, Dissent. I think Reef needs a vape that looks like a little trumpet or a flute. I think Reef blowing on a flute might be a little weird.
I'd take one.
But, okay. Go Start. Voting has zero impact on policy or legislation. That is correct, according to the Princeton University study of 2012. If you are not a Max donor, fuck voting. Harps down in Australia. They literally fine you if you don't vote down there. All right. I know that you know how to spell fuck Israel, but you just don't like to. All good, bro. Jesse Jet, eat your heart out. Oh, because Mouse SF says, I played 7 songs in a parking lot next to a used condom, so my career trajectory is keeping stable. Come on, bro. You play alongside Jesse every show, and I love hearing you say what you're playing against, and surprised that a chord changed or whatever it is. Again, thank you, Dissent in Bloom, for all you're doing and all you're writing about. And I do want to talk about, again, No Kings. Now, I just want to rehash that I wrote this article back in June. The last time we had one of these, and I will say it, corporate-sponsored No Kings rally.
No Kings. That is what they are.
And I will say that there was a lot of excitement and energy, and not everyone that went out was a shit lib, and not everyone, there were people that went out to be mad and to yell at and to feel community, and I'm not denigrating people, but I will point out that what this actually was a 2026 Democratic Party get out the vote effort. And my big question is, what was accomplished? And this is not to knock anyone that actually does fighting and organizing and work every day to fight the system. This is for the majority of people who showed up to a parade, a rally, to yell and go home and go back to their lives.
95% of the people that showed up to this, you know?
Again, last time they claimed 13 million people attending one. All right. But this time they're saying 6 or 7. Oh, but this was bigger. So which was it?
Right.
Remembering last time, and I saw this floating around this time, that the Democrats abroad changed the No Kings theme of other events around the world to No Tyrants, because there are still some countries that have a monarchy. So we're also swapping out No Crowns in favor of No Clowns. Come dressed as a Trump clown. Think bad blonde wig, orange face, long red tie, or whatever gets your creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
Right? What happened Saturday is the result of when people turn off their critical thinking skills and just turn out because vibes and feels. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that again, but there was no stated objective to any of this. There was no actual plan to stop anything, just to complain in public. The rally was organized.
You should play that. That's short.
Oh, was it? Okay. Let's do.
Yeah, because it had the thing at the end of it.
But as you've studied history, and I know this is something you love, is just looking at historical movements, trying to understand how you create change. I mean, what are the ways change happens in your estimation now, if it's not taking to the streets?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the core messages that I'm trying to get across is I'm not saying don't protest. I think what I'm trying to say is we need to reconceive what protest is. Protest, if you look at it historically, what it is it's really a behavior that's culturally defined. People have protested differently throughout human history. I mean, during the American Revolution, they tarred and feathered people or pulled down their houses, or during the Civil Rights era, we marched. And I think now we've reached a point where the current repertoire of our tactics, they're broken. And the reason why they're broken, if you kind of look at why they're broken, is because the story underlying why we protest is false. And that basic story has something to do with that it's kind of a mystical, magical thinking. It has something to do with if you can get large numbers of people in the streets, they manifest some sort of greater power over their democracy, which makes perfect sense in a certain way, because if you can get so many people into the streets saying something, of course their leaders should have to listen to them, but it's not true. It's really not true. So we have to think about, well, how do the people manifest a greater power over their governments? And that gets into these questions of sovereignty, it gets into these other issues. And I think that that's really the direction we need to go, is that we can no longer rely on the fact that we are able to get millions of people into the streets. We act as activists as if that's extremely difficult, but recent years have shown us, since Occupy Wall Street, it's actually very easy for us now. We can get women to march, scientists to march, we can get Black Lives Matter to march. We have to kind of go differently, a little bit deeper. I think the path forward is very hard, but I think that it's going to be fundamentally more rewarding.
Again, we're not saying don't protest. We're saying have a purpose, have a demand, have a the rally again was organized by the party. Let's remember that rigged their last 3 presidential candidates and was partially funded by the billionaire heiress of the largest employer in the country, who's directly responsible for millions of Americans that work for her company being underpaid, still required to be on food stamps, and not given enough hours to earn a living. That's Walmart. So I brought an assortment of tweets for receipts here. And again, this was months ago I wrote this. These were some of the organizations that were funding it, like 5051, Indivisible, okay? The Bernie Campaign, Behind the Ark Jewish Action, Common Cause. And this was just getting up to the C's. This was the A's, the B's, and the C's. There was an entire alphabet of sponsor logos. And again, I'm not calling every person that marched a hypocrite. What I'm calling is the Democrats that support and endorse this march and this sentiment hypocrites. The 13 million people stood in a street or park or whatever, wherever, with no real demand other than saying no kings, many of whom voted for Kamala Harris last November, who, if we recall, was anointed as the eventual Democratic candidate by the donors like a king or a queen. Huh. Imagine throwing a no kings protest after your party refused to hold a primary, coronated Kamala without a single vote, sued to keep Booby off the ballot, and then attempted to remove Trump from state ballots only after your illegal lawfare scheme failed. If there was a modern-day monarchy in America, there would only be one party you could really point to, and that would be the Democrats. All right, as a reminder again of recent history, Biden won the 2024 Democratic primary, even though most who voted for him are effectively forced to choose him. Throughout the primary, Democratic Party bosses made it clear to everyone that Biden was going to be the candidate Democrats had to vote for as the incumbent and the only serious challenger to Trump. Except they all knew he wasn't, number one, a challenge. They also knew he wasn't going to end up being the candidate. Because, of course, a palace coup was engineered within the Democratic Party. One that everyone knew was coming for 3 years. Jesse Jett literally documented it. I'm going to tell you before it's 2024, and they tell you to vote for Kamala. And it resulted in Harris being installed as the nominee to challenge Trump. Nobody, besides the billionaire donors, got to choose her as their candidate. After we all saw how badly they botched the past 4 years, there probably wasn't any Democrat that could have beaten Trump, so they just threw her to the wolves.
If there wasn't, in the context of all in which you lived and what came before you.
That's right. Drunken cam. The people likely would not have, no matter which Democrat she faced in a primary, chosen her. So the party just ensured that she didn't have to face any challenge. by exposing Biden's dementia post-primary as too advanced, even though everyone knew for years he wasn't really running stuff anyway, to continue.
Right. Same thing with this one.
Right.
Like, he's not the king. He ain't no fucking king. He answers to the fucking king, which are the capitalist oligarchs that all of them listen to.
Miriam Adelson for one, Peter Thiel for another, Elon Musk for a third.
Peter Thiel, fucking Bill Gates. The money fucking havers. You know?
There was even an opportunity to have an open debate and choose a different candidate at the convention, but that was never even seriously part of the conversation. Everyone around her knew that Harris had no chance and would be a miserable failure if she somehow pulled it off and won, but they still all got in line behind her anyway, because Twump.
Do not come.
The Democrats compromised themselves, bullied a complicit, click-hungry media apparatus, whitewashed and ignored genocide in Gaza, gaslit us on Ukraine not being a proxy war, only to then have them admit it was all along, and even blackmailed half of Hollywood to attempt to make this happen. None of this is changed by the fact that there was a rally. Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan effectively ran foreign policy for the country under the Biden admin. Anita Dunn, it's come out, made a lot of the domestic policy decisions. That was the auto pen thing. Nobody elected any of them last I checked. That would also apply under no kings. So what happens now? Again, back to Saturday's No Kings. Again, the Democratic-led No Kings rally and corporate funding.
They stole from Schoolhouse Rock.
Sponsored by Comcast.
They stole the whole fucking line.
Sponsored by Comcast.
Stupid.
And now the Democratic Party, again, wants you to believe that they would be a positive alternative to Trump and gave people an opportunity to yell orange mad bad in the streets, funded by the corporate America, largely getting in line with Trump's agenda. Right? So this seems, again, this was my opinion 5 months ago, like it was a liberal pink pussy hat 2.0 party 8 years later from 2016. Yep. Everyone who attended went home that night, well, felt a little better about themselves with solidarity for a day, realizing they're not alone, and then watched World War III continue to unfold, supported by the same Democrats who organized the protest rallies and even showed up, but nothing fundamentally changed. In this case, the government is still shut down. Not one person, and I will change this decree this time because I do know one person who showed up and will answer these questions, but not one person celebrating No Kings on Saturday wanted to answer these questions in June. Now, remember, the rally was on Saturday, but what happened on Sunday? What happens on Monday? Is there any follow-up? Any direct action? Another march 5 months later or 4 months later, is that really a follow-up? Any way to make elected officials uncomfortable so they change their behavior? Well, we certainly didn't see that yesterday. All right. Here again are some tweets from people from April, from June, from Derek Bros, who attended a No Kings rally in June in Houston. All right. The protest is literally focused on promoting No Kings, but because of the left-right propaganda, some conservatives are acting like that's a bad message. It's not. All right. So that's an interesting analysis there. Just to poke a little fun. Woke up this morning. Still no king. You did it, Libs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I am not.
Just a thought, girl. The psyop is you mass shame, brutalize, and arrest Americans who actually have demands and protests as a threat to power. So in turn, they protest like children at a parade, just having a good time. And poof, the threat is gone. Like, it pretty much only approved protest, you know?
So getting back to yesterday. Okay, now, Cory Booker, walking through the No Kings rally and seeing it thousands of times over across the country has me awestruck. So many Americans are ready to stand up against the corruption of yours and fight for a lower cost of living.
Yeah.
That you're preventing, asshole. I'm honored to stand with them.
Putin's a madman.
He's gone. We can't even talk about Jamal Bowman.
This is amazing. We've got more than a million people already, and I can see it's growing. We're out here today to really just say that Donald Trump, his authoritarian tendencies, what he's trying to do is absolutely wrong. We have a nation right now where people...
Okay, remember that this guy literally did his 25-hour filibuster, then walked across the street and voted for Kushner's dad to be the ambassador to France. Keep talking, Cory.
Meet their everyday needs, grow more and more difficult, and we have a president that doesn't seem to care. Frankly, just continue corruption. That's all about his own pockets. This is wrong.
He's not wrong.
Everyday Americans.
But he's also...
This is amazing. We've got...
He's also talking about himself. He is just as corrupt and lining his own pockets with donor money and AIPAC cash. And
empty political rhetoric.
And schmooly money.
You know?
So I had pulled something that Keith McHenry had shared. But before I show that, Colin says, meanwhile, Cory Booker, whole Zionist ass, attended. And as far as I know, he wasn't running for the hills after his pathetic display covering for Israel on that I've Had It podcast last week. All right, where she asks him, like, why do you support Israel? Like, they're obviously killing people. It's obviously costing you votes. And yet you can't say that Israel's bad or that Bibi is bad. And he just won't. Protesters are going to complain about Trump, but then vote for this guy at the end of the day, which is infuriating to Colin, and I don't blame him. Yes, Topher, he do love that dildo money. You bet. All right? So what I had said, and again, this was probably a little harsh, because I think in hindsight, it may have helped people feel good about themselves and feel solidarity where they may have felt alone, and I don't want to dismiss that, okay? That is important. People not feeling alone. People not feeling alone is important. But what I said was No Kings really does nothing to help anyone. It's a Democratic Party get out the vote campaign for 26, except that the entire electoral process is rigged to deliver either a Republican or Democrat. As long as one of those two win, the whole system continues, which is really the goal of the Democrats. We can tell from 2024, they don't even care about winning per se. They just want the system to continue. Now, this guy, Arun Gupta, said that he went to the No Kings in June. And he would be at No Kings in New York City today if he wasn't leading a food tour. In all fairness, he would be out there. We should always be in the streets when others are, but don't fool yourself. No Kings is not a movement. It's an AstroTurf campaign to rehabilitate the image of the pro-genocide, pro-Wall Street Democrats while giving liberals a performative outlet to feel like they're fighting fascism while they parade about in costumes, waving signs about saving our democracy before heading to brunch. How many signs did we see that if Kamala were president, we'd be at brunch right now? Tonight, MSNBC gushed over No Kings. Hosts and guests breathlessly talked millions into the streets and sinking polls for Trump like the Red Army was about to storm the Winter Palace and oust the czar. James Carville, the apologist of every Democratic Party horror, exulted over No Kings, saying he was behind it 100% and that he was going to find a protest to join. Newsflash, if you're on the same side of James Carville politically, you're not doing the right thing. All right. Leaders of No Kings declared that they had nothing to do with Antifa, meaning that they were letting Trump determine their politics for them in declaring that they were not actually against fascism. To put an emphasis on the point, the No Kings parade in Portland has refused to march to the ICE building where protesters in inflatable animal outfits have been courageously confronting the Gestapo for weeks. And man, those frog costumes are hilarious to see. But that didn't stop Rachel Maddow from delivering a monologue where she kept saying "we" over footage of the Portland protests. In effect, she was stealing the valor of activists actually putting their bodies in the gears of the deportation machine and trying to transfer that onto no kings. That is the point I was trying to make that some people got upset about. Meanwhile, in California, No King said that it's going to throw its efforts into a redistricting plan to deliver more seats to Democrats to counter Trump's gerrymander in Texas. In other words, vote blue no matter who. How is that, No Kings? Marching protesters into the graveyard of the Democratic Party aligns with how No Kings operates, is led by Indivisible, which is run by former Democratic Party congressional staffers. It welcomes the left because that gives it credibility with activists who have no real say over strategy, which is to create enthusiasm for voting for Democrats in the 2026 midterms. Because, you know, if the Democrats take back the House, they have a robust plan of strongly worded emails and more pink placards to take down Trump. The strategy, insofar as there is one, is to change the faces in power who will once more turn right-wing atrocities into bipartisan policy, ensuring that we keep slipping down the slope of barbarism, fully engaging the ratchet effect. And since when was a social movement relentlessly promoted by $100 billion corporate media outlet, that's Comcast, that gave $1 million to Trump's inaugural committee? That's awfully duplicitous. Shamefully, left media like Democracy Now!, The Nation, Jacobin, and In These Times enthuse over this astroturfed movement, calling it a revolt or a mass movement, and that it's be safe for babies. It's more evidence of the bankrupt whiteness of No Kings because they think they can be safe while ICE Nazis brutally assault brown and black families, children, and pregnant women in their homes, in their vehicles, and in the streets every day, let alone when there's a protest. The whole point of No Kings is not to confront power. It's symptomatic of the liberal pathology that we can have social change with zero cost or risk. So, join in, engage people, see who you can win over to real socialist and revolutionary politics. But don't imagine that this Libria will amount to anything more than the same failed democratic policies of the last 50 years. And what do I mean?
Yep.
Well, let's look at the Queen herself. Yes, Queen. Breaking a crown. I think that crown was constructed of irony. Sweet cheese balls. This is worse than when she tore up the State of the Union speech. Performative. And then, what's her name? Colin said that, you know, this was like a kente cloth bowing, right? All right. Don't these people have jobs? Jason, it's Saturday. No, they're not all basement hobbits. There were millions of fucking people in the streets, man. You can't make that kind of designation. Sorry. No, that's wrong. All right. So it's still corporate funded, even if people who attended have good intentions and do good things. It's still corporate funded, and it's still a Democratic Party get out the vote effort. All right. So again, this was not to attack or go after anybody here who does the work every day. All right. It absolutely was organic, Jason. There's a lot of people that are angry and wanting to do something. And this gave them an opportunity to do something because they're waiting for people to tell them what to do. And this is what they told them to do. I disagree there. I think it absolutely
it's called
was
inorganic. I agree. No offense. Like, they literally held up, there was people holding up signs literally saying, if Kamala was president, we'd be at brunch.
Yeah, but that's not the only people that were out there. And to automatically assume
there are outliers.
I don't know that they were outliers.
Massive majority.
I don't know that they were outliers.
I'm pretty sure. From what we saw this week and the last time this happened and the time before that it happened. Like, sorry. Same shit, different day.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Again, we can agree to disagree on this and we can have a conversation about it. I think that if people who are angry enough to get out there and do something about it, try to think that they're doing something about it by protesting, by aligning with other people and showing that they're not alone, that's not a distraction. I disagree. Somebody had to organize that. Somebody had to get these people out there. And we certainly haven't done a good enough job to get millions of people out in the streets. All right.
No, the times we've done it, we've had people show up and try to self-immolate themselves. Like, we've been here, done this.
Yeah. Can't kill an idea. Occupy. Global love and solidarity. Good point. Yep. Yeah. Mouse. I live in a town of 6,000 people, and there was a protest. Okay? That wasn't corporate funded and organized.
Yeah, and? I bet it was. You don't think they're like pushing out to the... Yeah, it's showing up on NPR, and they're like showing up to these things. It definitely can be. Like, I mean, whatever.
Well, to put the word out there, all right? Dissent in Bloom, I donate to immigrant rights funds, GoFundMe's, I carry fucking Narcan and red cards. I give all my Spanish patients a paper with their rights on it and discharge at work. Okay? This was not about you. This was never about you. This was written before I had even met you. You do the work every day. You show up every day, and you are trying to convert people every day. That's not what this is. But not everyone is you. That's what my point was. Most of the people there were looking for an excuse to go back to brunch. That's what I'm saying. That's what Reef's saying.
Right.
Most people were looking for an excuse to yell and then have things go back to the way they were, for the most part. So they don't have to be bothered. Which it's not going to be. And we know that tomorrow. ICE is still going to be in the streets. All these things are still going to continue. So, I have a few other items for the lightning round that I want to get to real quick. Before we do, please support the media you want to see. Okay, that's our wall of fame. Those are the amazing people that have supported, including, again, Dissent in Bloom. We support her. Absolutely support her. Said, go out and protest. Yes, go do that. If you want to, go ahead. All right. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. co-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com. Over on Substack at IndieMediaToday.com and over at INNNewsletter.com as well. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. We'll see you next week. Love you, fam. Thanks, everyone.
Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want?